10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio. Watch out!
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician, Chris Aceto, on this December 2nd, 2019 evening. And Chris, we're in the month of December. It is unbelievable. Last month of the year, last month of the decade, actually, if you think about it, right?
Yeah, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep, we're almost done with
That's spooky.
the 2010s.
Wow. And Thanksgiving came so late.
I know. When I was thinking as a kid, when I was in high school, I'm thinking, and my friends and I would talk about, we're going to meet at the top of the World Trade Center on at the year 2000, no matter where we are in the world.
1999, you mean, when it turned? Yeah.
Yeah, we were going to meet
when the
there.
computers were supposed to all,
It seemed like it was 100 years away. All right, yeah, whatever. We'll be 30-something. Now I'm thinking 2000, it's 20 years later.
Well, I do this now. I'll go to Florida next month and think, I only got 20 left until I'm dead. 20 Decembers to enjoy.
I don't even want to think about that, to be honest with you. It's scary. I'm always thinking, all right, my son will be 18. I'll be 66 or something like that. Or I'm like, oh, that's not terrible, I guess, but it is pretty old. We're old parents,
Yeah, speaking of death, I had got an email. We had spoken about my cancer once recently.
Okay.
And somebody sent me a scathing email about my arrogance into believing that I would beat cancer.
Oh, really?
Which he completely is so stupid he can't listen to the radio show, because my point was I was okay with dying. So if you're okay with dying, then it's the opposite of having arrogance to...
You just accepted whatever was going to be your fate. Yeah.
Beat cancer, I beat it. I'm the last, not I'm the last one, but, I still think of it all the time. Gosh, what if it creeps up? What if I just wake up tomorrow? So Tuesday, I'm exhausted. Maybe I got cancer again.
Right.
And if I do, I do. I mean, I don't want to.
Yeah.
But the idea that I was being arrogant that I was going to beat it was complete opposite. I was okay with not being able to beat it.
See, I think you have a healthy emotional state. And I think that is why you, quote, beat cancer. I think what happened was, your absent-mindedness and your, don't worry about things. You forgot you got cancer. Because you had cancer. You didn't know it. You had a stupid mole that changed.
Well, I went into denial about it.
If you were married to my wife, at the time, you would have caught it after one day of having cancer, because she's very observant. You and I are our head is in the sand. We don't even acknowledge things. But I think because you're so emotionally healthy, because I believe cancer is an emotional disease, blockages. I think that once you put your mind to, okay, I got this thing now, it's got to be, eradicated, so to speak. I don't. That's why you got rid of it. And I think if you had gotten cancer because of an emotional issue you had, you weren't dealing with, and you never fixed that, I think that's when cancer kills people.
Is conditioning on a bodybuilding stage emotionally related?
No.
Okay.
No, what I mean is, how there are some people that I believe some people get cancer. And I don't even know. I always try to figure out why my mother got cancer at 42, and I felt like she was always complaining that she wasn't happy with maybe not that she wasn't happy with the fact that she had us kids, because that was obviously important. But I don't think she was happy in her life. I think she felt like she was stagnant. She was a very intelligent woman. And I think because she wasn't really living the life she wanted, and I felt that was her emotional blockage to what, because I think you have to do what you love. You can't stifle your own creativity. And so you can if you get a disease because of that and you don't fix what's causing it, it will kill you. Mm-hmm. But I think if if you have sun damage, or a mole that changes and you get cancer and you don't get rid of it. You're just it's because you're an idiot. Essentially you didn't notice it, whatever. But once it's been identified and now you're seeking treatment for it, I think your treatment was successful, even though a lot of other people who get it, their treatments are not successful, because of the fact that you had a healthy emotional state about it. And that has to do with what you just said. You were fine with whatever the outcome was, because intuitively you knew that you were going to surpass this because you had a lot more still to do. In other words, you were not stifled in any way emotionally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. I can buy into that.
That's my personal spiritual theory on cancer, because I believe there is a spiritual component of it. After all, our physical state has a lot to do with our emotional state.
There has to be, Dave, because if you take 4 people and give 2 the same treatment I took and 2 the other treatments, 2 are going to be dead and 2 aren't.
Right. So and I think that we have not quantified and identified how to do this. And I think in the future I think they're going to actually be able to give you brain therapy in a sense for cancer. They'll be able to reprogram your brain or help you deprogram maybe your brain for things that are not necessarily going right, and they'll fix the problem that way. Because my surgeon said to me, and I've told the story before, when my shoulder surgeon, he said, look, he's like, I can go in there and fix your diseased state of your shoulders. I can put in a new shoulder, and I'm going to get you out of pain, but I'm not fixing the problem that caused that. And he didn't mean the bodybuilding you were doing and the heavy weight you were lifting. The emotional burdens that I carry are in my shoulders for some reason, and that's why the disease process manifested so severely there. So what he was saying is basically, you still got to work on yourself because other problems will arise in that area for you. In other words, because that's your area. Some people have it in their back, lower back. You ever see these people have chronic lower back issues all the time, and they really haven't done anything to really warrant it? They're manifesting their emotional pain there. People are going to listen to this. They're like, these guys are fucking out of their fucking minds.
No. I mean,
trust me.
that's where blowing a gasket comes. That's where that comes from.
Mm-hmm. So, a lot of people liked liked the NASA video that we posted.
Well, Dave, your impersonation of Nasser has gotten worse, because if you recall, you were bringing me to the airport. I think it was 2012 or 13.
I forgot that. I was doing
impressions. For some reason, you started doing a Nasser impersonation, and I had to physically hit that shoulder of yours to get you to stop, because I was crying. I was crying. I was laughing so hard because the impersonation was dead on. Yeah. But also, you were being truthful, you weren't making up the scenarios in which you were impersonating Nasser.
Yeah. What we're talking about is, do you know what Olympia that was, Chris, that he was getting ready for?
That looked like probably,
99,
I'm going by his
2000?
jacket. Yeah, 99.
Okay, so Nasser is getting rid of...
99 to 2000.
What they used to do with the Mr. Olympia is they would get these guys when they arrived in Vegas, and they would interview these guys to have footage so that when they came out on stage for the night show, they would play a little clip, like from Nasser, they would clip a little segment of it, so to speak. So evidently they got Nasser, and first of all they would make these guys wear suits, and most of these guys never wear suits. And when you're when you're a big guy, you can't really get a suit that fits, it's not comfortable. So Nasser's wearing this suit he probably never wears. He's sweating, you could tell already. And he's got this woman, which is the worst thing for Nasser. The worst person to interview him would have been a woman, right? Yes. This woman who knows nothing about bodybuilding. She's has a bunch of canned questions. And then the producer who's doing the producing of these interviews is another woman, and they're asking Nasser questions. And Nasser just doesn't want. First of all, doesn't want to be there. Secondly, he doesn't really respect women to begin with. And thirdly, it has his level of sarcasm and disdain for what's going on is so high that there's no way there's going to be a good interview. So what he did was, before he got there, is he prepared a statement that he wanted to make about, what he's, about how he's approaching this Olympia. So they're trying to ask him these questions, and Nasser is like, "Look, I got a statement. Can I just make my statement?" They're like, "What's the statement?" He goes, "Don't worry, it'll be good. I promise you, it'll be good. Don't ask me any questions." And so he makes his statement, and these women, they're like, "Can we ask you a couple more questions?" He's like, "All right, fine." And they're like, the worst question you could possibly ask Nasser, the most contrived question is the package you're bringing to the stage going to be better than last year or something like that?
Don't ask me these dumb questions.
He's like, I won't answer this question. Then they're like, well,
answer that one.
They're like, who do you do you look up to and
Nobody.
And respect? He goes, no, I don't respect anyone. I don't look up to anyone. No one is. What about? They're like, what about for the kids? Do you have any messages to give to the kids? And who want to get into bodybuilding? No, I don't. No. No, I don't. It's so classic Nasser. So I could not make a statement. So I did a video. Probably most of you guys have seen it. It was, and I gave my my whole Nasser experience with him. And since then, people have been sending me clips of Nasser, that's been recorded. He was doing some kind of training diary, I think, for that same show actually, in his house, and he's talking about the food he's eating, and he's talking about he eats papaya. He was talking about. Did you know that?
No.
Nasser, and these
I'm
people.
Sure there were 10 reasons why.
These people, they tell you that. They do not have cravings, and they are liars, and they why do they eat French fries and sweets after the show is over? Because they don't have cravings. Of course they have cravings. So I eat papaya. If I am a little hungry, I'm eating a little papaya now. He's always out of breath, Nasser. Which means he's got to have high blood pressure. I'm sure he's not.
When he was 335, he couldn't tie his shoes.
He's like 290. I think, or I think he was 290. He's like, I will weigh about 282 for the show, I'm thinking, and I will be coming in bigger this year because I won't be playing the conditioning game with these guys. I will still, of course, be strided and have good symmetry.
Separated and balanced, and he went through every single complimentary description for a bodybuilder.
But he's in his kitchen.
That's what he was going to.
This was this training. So people have been sending me all these clips. Someone supposedly has another clip of they're supposed to be sending me of him critiquing Dorian or something like that after the '97 Olympia. But I haven't got that from that person, or I would have played it. But it's so. I mean, Nasser is so classic. I mean, he's so. He just hates everyone basically. Right? He thinks he's better than everyone. He especially knows in his mind that he's better than every woman, that's for sure. So there's no way these two women could possibly ever have a chance to ever get a good interview from him. But he knows they work for the Weeders and everything like that, and he still is
care.
He doesn't care. No, he doesn't care.
No, because he'd just say, he'd tell Joe, you got stupid people working for you. That's all.
How did Nasser do in '99? I don't even remember.
99, let's see. He was 6 or 7, but he started to slide.
He dropped down. Yeah, he dropped down.
Yeah, he started to slide. And, he's still big, but he didn't have the crazy density.
Yeah.
And I think he had the, jimmied up. That's when he started jimmying stuff
the
up.
shoulders. Yeah, the shoulders started looking bad.
Yeah.
But the gist of my rant was that Nasser, when I listened to it, I was laughing out loud because I just know now. I felt like he was in the room with me, and I'm like, holy shit! I'm like, Nasser, you fucking bastard! How can you leave us? You fucked us. The best of you was yet to come. The commentary that we could have gotten from this guy on TV shows.
The one question I have asked him, the one. Do you remember that? What I asked him?
No, what did you ask him? I forgot.
He decimated the New York Pro after decimating the Houston Pro.
Right.
And I said, Nasser, did you use T3?
Oh, he must.
He goes, yes, I did. I started with 250 micrograms a day and went up to 400.
That's great.
So I knew I was like, okay, he's taking me as a dummy. So
Yeah.
I'm just, okay.
Yeah,
All right, good. Yeah, congratulations.
Right. Another person that emailed me, because everyone's giving me their Nasser like stories, and they're like, I once asked Nasser, what, how much gear I should take and stuff like that, and he says, as much as you could afford.
Yeah.
In other words, if you have a lot of money, then just take maximal amounts. Just keep doing more and more.
No.
So he would fuck with people all the time. But I think he could have been a great commentator. Imagine the analysis of the Olympia with him. Imagine putting him in that wrap up.
Oh, you have to like, what would get kicked out?
Well, no, everyone would hate us because of
because first he'd be extremely critical of the physique, and then he'd go into their personal life. Yeah. Dave, did you hear? He cheated on his wife 3 nights ago. I didn't.
Well, the old. You ever hear Nasser comment on Gunther Schlierkamp?
No, I can't.
Gunther's probably the nicest guy you'll ever meet. I've never heard anyone say a bad word about him. Have you?
Ever? No. The
super nice guy. You almost want to see him win. When he beat Ronnie in that GNC show of strength right after the Olympia in 2002, people legitimately were fine with it because everyone liked Gunther.
Yeah.
Like, no one was like, oh, fuck him. He should have never beat Ronnie. People were like, yeah, all right, good. He's a good guy. What a great fucking victory.
Let me guess. He said something about being an Aryan.
Oh, he is a phony. You throw him a nickel, he will smile for you. I said, what does that mean? I said, oh, he will smile for anyone. I said, well, what does that have to do with anything with physique? He's only liked by Joe Weider because he has blonde hair and he will sell magazines for him.
He forgot that he was 300.
Yeah, he forgot that. Right. He forgot that he actually looked good too. Oh my God, Nasser. He was just too much. The only person I've ever heard badmouth Gunther Schlierkamp. But he would have been great because you know what? Even if you don't agree with him, he has a strong opinion. Imagine him on Iron Debate. He would take this.
Like half the other people on Iron Debate.
He'd be putting down the people. No one would want to debate him because he's too smart, right?
Well, there'd be people who want to debate him, but
I don't know. Who would want to debate him? Listen, I know, Chad. I know you have done my diet in the past, and you have given me good advice. But let's face it. You never have stepped on a Olympia stage, and you are a frustrated bodybuilder. He would like start attacking Chad. Well, yeah, but
that's what he does.
Yeah, and he's good at it too, right?
Yeah, he looks for the vulnerability.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you watch my Chris Cormier interview?
I didn't see it.
Oh,
because I was at Thanksgiving.
That's true. We'll talk about Thanksgiving in a minute. But Chris Cormier has this new documentary. Did I talk about this last time? I can't remember.
You did talk about it.
I did. Okay. All right. Well, I interviewed Chris, obviously, and we talked about the documentary. And if people haven't seen the documentary or they want to watch a great interview, Chris is he's in such a different place now. I love talking to him. It's like he really opened up to me too, even more so than the documentary.
Did you ask him the question that I asked you?
Which one was that?
To ask him.
I forgot. What was the question again?
Who's he dating? You said you were going to write it down.
Oh, I didn't ask him. I forgot. Completely forgot. I can't remember anything.
No, that's why you said you'd write it down.
I know, but I forgot to write it down. That's the problem. I have notes I write to myself in my iPhone, and I don't read the notes. So I don't, like every day I'll write this, okay, I don't want to forget this for tomorrow. And then I never went and go back. You'd think every day I would review my notes that I leave for myself, but I don't review them, so of course I don't remember them. Speaking of getting old, I did an after-hour show with Jimmy the Bull, Greg Valentino, and Romano, and Jimmy just turned 60 on the day of the show, this past Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And Romano and Valentino are going to turn 60 this coming year. Can you believe it?
I can believe it.
We're sick. The guys we hang out
with.
No, not us.
don't.
You and I
Go
still
ahead.
got a couple years.
I already know
left.
Cody Montgomery's 24. Dude.
No, but think about it. The guys that we have grown up with and we're doing this thing of ours with, they're turning 60. It's crazy. Can't believe
Time
it.
don't wait for nobody.
I know, but it's crazy.
Right?
I'd always say this. I don't know if I'm just saying this because I'm trying to because I'm getting older, but I think we all look pretty good. I told Romano and Jimmy and Valentino, you guys don't look like you're 60, do they?
I think they do, but go ahead. I think Romano.
That's a
Valentino
NASA.
looks 60.
That's
I
a
think
NASA
they look-
response.
Yeah.
Romano posted a picture of his son, who's 18 now? John was living in my house when I started RxMuscle. He moved up. I got him to move up to New York. He was renting one of my rental houses for me with his son, Max. Max had to be 8 years old, okay? He's 18 now because, of course, 10 years have passed since we started RxMuscle, right? I remember this little kid. He had long hair. He looked just like John. He had long hair, and he was the cutest kid. And I'm like thinking, he's 18. When I saw the picture of him, first of all, he's taller than John. He looks a lot like John. He's got the same smile as him. I was blown away by it. I'm like, holy mackerel, he's 18. What the hell happened to 10 years? Where did it go? Flew.
Well, let that be a lesson.
I know. I mean, not that I don't think I wasted the 10 years. I think
I know, but
we put it to good use, but it just went fast.
But people waste 10 years.
People waste time all the time.
My pet peeve is seeing. You don't have to be busy all the time, and you don't have to be achieving all the time, and you can be relaxing. There's a benefit, all the time. But just not being aware that 10 years is going to go quick is a big mistake.
True. So I had Chris Cormier on this past week.
Didn't ask him who he dated, but go ahead.
No, I don't. But I'll save it because he wants to do more stuff with us, so we could always get that on the next time. Now, Chris is like reborn. It's like, but we talked about the fact that he probably could have been Mr. Olympia, at least once.
Maybe.
And when he went to train, when he went to train with Dorian, I didn't realize this because my timeline was off. I thought he had gone earlier, but he had gone when he was already like 43 years old.
Right.
And that was after he hurt his back. I didn't realize that. He got this infection in his back. You remember when that happened?
Yeah, I do.
Somehow he got, a terrible, terrible bacterial infection to the point where he was in like a coma for like a month. And before it happened, he was looking really good. He was like 280, he said. I didn't realize he was that big. And he was going to go stay with Dorian and train. And then he was with Bo Basin and his friend. I didn't even realize that in New York, and he was having weird pains and feeling bad. He went to the hospital and fucking was in there for 3 months. He thought he was in there for 2 days. He woke up. They're like, "You've been here for a month." He's like, "What? What do you mean a month?" Yeah, he's lucky he didn't die. Chris is very lucky. Talk about when it's not your time, it's not your time. I said, Chris, many lesser people have died with much less stuff than what you've done to yourself and what happened to you with that crazy back infection you had in your back. And so he went, he was going to train with Dorian. I said, Chris, if you had gone to train with Dorian, first of all, you never would have lasted there when you were younger because you just weren't in the right mindset. But if you had gone there, he would have made you Mr. Olympia because...
Well, maybe not. I don't believe that.
No, it would have been... I mean, not that Chris didn't train hard, but he would have kept him sequestered, kind of like what Oxygen Gym has done for Brandon Curry. Dorian would have done for Chris. It's not that Brandon and Chris don't train hard or didn't train hard. It's that they had distractions. Brandon was his family. Chris was the fact they had to go out every night.
That part about Dory makes sense. Not necessarily that the training was going to change.
It wasn't the training. It was this. It was the
not that there's
lifestyle,
anything wrong at all with Dorian's training.
Right,
So
the monk-like, priest-like training, where Chris goes to the gym, he eats, and he goes to sleep. That's it. He breathes and lives
bodybuilding. Do that, Dave. When I knew Chris Cormier, that was his regimen. Period. Eat, sleep, train, go to bed, do it all over again.
Early in his career, right? And then he found the party lifestyle.
Well, people do in LA.
I know. I'm saying, but imagine
People doing bodybuilding.
if they would have gotten a hold of him, like at the stage Brandon Curry was at, that Oxygen got in hold of him, and Dorian locked him away in his dungeon there and trained him, for 2 years. I think he would have snuck in there and snuck in Olympia. Who knows? He might have beat Jay. I don't know. But he wasn't beating Jay with Jay's mindset, Chris just was, not giving 100% of what he was doing.
Well, you know what? It's all the same. When you give like 85, you know what's after 85? Not 90, it's 82.
You're right.
And after 82 is 75, and
You're
Jay's different. When you're giving, when you give 100, after that comes 105, 110, different level you didn't know you could get to.
I'm sure Jay would admit that probably Cormier had better genetics than him,
Absolutely.
But certainly didn't have a stronger mindset.
I can tell you a story about Jay and Cormier when Jay was getting ready for the Ironman, which Cormier beat him at.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that. Yeah.
And that was 98 or 99.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay went out to LA maybe like 6 weeks out. He was ridiculously ripped 6 weeks out. And everybody was pretty stunned at the way he looked. And Cormier's advice to him was, don't take this bodybuilding stuff so serious.
Cormier's giving advice.
And, Jay remembers stuff verbatim. Not only does he remember stuff verbatim to repeat it to me, but I bet you right now, if I call Jay, I'll say, Jay, what month was that? And what was roughly the day? What were you wearing? What was Cormier wearing? And he will tell you exactly. Because things like that sear into his memory. And, I remember him, no cell phone, called me up and saying, Cormier told me, don't take this bodybuilding stuff so serious, which to Jay is like, okay, then I'm doing everything right. If he's serious, I'm gonna just way up my game from here. Exactly.
Yeah, Cormier should have been
mindset. It's mindset.
Jay should have given Cormier some advice.
Mindset. Mm-hmm. And if people don't know what I'm talking about, then they don't have the mindset.
You're right. You're 100%.
That's the weird part. They can just say cliches, but if you don't have the mindset for something, who cares? I
agree 100%. I also had Cormier actually on Iron Rage with Lee Priest. We talked about 90s bodybuilding. So if you're a Cormier fan and you want to get
what were they saying? Everyone's fat and they were ripped.
They were
people getting tired of that, though. Actually,
they weren't really saying that, but they were just talking. We were talking about training and stuff like that, and the cell phones in the gym and that kind of stuff. They're against that.
Well, the cell phones destroyed it. Instagram destroyed it, and I said years ago the yellow machines, which is so I wouldn't get sued. The yellow machine people destroyed it.
Well, there's a point. Like when you're off season, I understand bringing the cell phone in there to do clips and stuff for social media, but both of them, were like vehemently against the cell phones when you're dieting for a show and getting ready. That they should just not even be brought into the gym.
Well, if you bring your cell phone into your, I guess when you go out on a date with the girl that you want to get. I guess you wouldn't bring it out is my point, right?
Yeah.
So why would you wouldn't bring it to the gym? If you're serious about getting the girl, you wouldn't be serious. Same thing with the gym.
True. You're right. But most guys would bring the phone anyway.
Well, it's a distraction, dude. If you
an
can't,
addiction. It's an addiction. We're all addicted to these little
I go to Thanksgiving dinner and there's like a break in the action. I don't know what. See 11 people on their phone. My sisters,
everyone's got to post. They got to post the pictures from Thanksgiving, right? Because God forbid you wait 10 minutes.
Is that it? I guess so. Because I'm thinking, what could they be? I'm thinking they're working. I'm like, God, are they working or something?
Are people that interested in what we did for Thanksgiving? I mean, don't they have their own Thanksgivings? Really. No, I don't know. Maybe they are. I don't know. I post a couple clips here and there. I posted a clip of. Actually, no, I didn't post a clip of that. My mother-in-law has this bird, this ringneck parrot I got for her. I didn't get for her. A friend of mine was getting rid of it. It was his daughter's, and this bird hated everyone but his daughter, and his daughter moved to California or something like that. So the bird was there, and he's like, I'm moving from the house, and I was over his house, and he said, you know anyone wants a bird? And like as a joke. And I'm thinking, well, my mother-in-law loves parrots. I'm like, so I called her up. I said, Denise, you want this ringneck parrot? She's like, is it? I said, it's fine. All right, yeah, sure. So she took it. I bought her a cage. This is a funny story. I bought her a cage on Amazon, a really nice one, and they sent her 2 by accident. So she has 2.
Did you sell the other one?
No, she's got to get her another
She
bird
has
now.
2 birds, yeah.
So anyway, she's got this bird, and she's been working with it, right? And because the bird is, it was being neglected probably in the sense that only the daughter really cared about it, and no one else. So the bird didn't like anyone else. So the bird would bite your hand off when you put it in there. So she's been working with it, giving it treats, but she still hasn't gotten it out, yet because it doesn't want to be touched. So I'm in her house, and I'm like, I'm giving all the bird stuff, and I got this bird. I'm rubbing the bird. And before I know it, I'm actually, my hand's in the cage, and I'm giving the bird a massage, essentially. This thing it won't let me pick it up, per se, but it won't get on my hand, but it's like I'm rubbing it everywhere, and it's not biting. And when I first got there, it always bit my finger off. But I got it. So I said, videotape this. So I was going to put the clip up. I never put it up, but that's what I did. So I'm the bird whisperer, yeah. So it's like... I won the only reason I had any interest in the bird was because the bird had no interest in me. Like I'm like the guy like that. I don't want to know from the girl unless the girl doesn't want anything to do with me. Then it's a challenge, right? You want to get the bird to like you. So I worked on the bird the whole time.
I used to have a client. Must have been 1988, 89.
Yeah.
In Gold's Venice, who had a cockatoo.
Oh, the white ones? I love those. Those are awesome.
And the cockatoo could sing opera, incredible, because the guy would play his opera records.
And it would copy it?
Oh, yeah, copy it. The whole, not just like, a few verses.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
If they weren't so loud, I'd get a bird. It's like having another kid in the house, though.
Well, this guy used to be able to cover it, and then it learned how to scream through the covering. So the bird used to drive him crazy.
Yeah, they will drive you nuts. But they are beautiful. Especially, and they're great talkers, some of these birds.
Maybe you could teach one to talk and get him on the show. Get him on.
Yeah, I could teach him. Maybe I could teach him to do the Nasser accent.
Dave is Dave is dumber than a bird.
Yeah, Nasser would be insulted. Nasser,
when you sent me the tape,
you have to. If you want to get a good Nasser impression, you must breathe very heavy because I have trouble breathing because I am on so much gear. And it is making.
And then everything has to have a question
breath.
mark on the end of it. Like even the statements go up. Like there's a question mark at the end.
Of course, yes, of course. Is that what you were asking me, Chris?
Species nutrition. There's nothing in the products at all. They're empty capsules. I opened one up. There was nothing in it.
I know for a fact that Dave is overcharging for these products, but he's trying to make extra money off of them. But are they good quality? I think they are probably good quality, but he is charging too much money for it, and because he's greedy,
He doesn't pay taxes.
It is his Jewish heritage, I think, that is getting
that's it. Yeah. That's where he gets going. That's where he gets under your skin.
Yeah. You know what? I got it. Speaking of heritage and Jewish heritage, my wife, Amanda, got me this Ancestry DNA kit. Have you seen this?
Oh, yeah.
Ancestry.com? She did it. They send you this little thing. You spit in this tube and you send it off to them. I'm waiting for it to come back, and they'll actually tell you your DNA. And so you go on this Ancestry.com. I'm too cheap. I didn't do the paid one, and I started. It's addicting. You start entering your family tree, and who your parents are, when they're born, died, whatever, and it starts connecting you with anyone who has something like who is online already who has a family tree that's similar. It starts searching and finding records of these people. So my aunt must have done a whole bunch. My aunt knows. I don't even know how she got back so far. My aunt's got my father's grandfather or something like that from back in Italy, Michelangelo Palumbo. They went back.
So what was the biggest thing that you found?
Well, nothing yet, because I kind of just found some relatives that were in there. My aunt had pictures of these people too from the 1800s. I don't even know they had cameras back then. So there's like Michelangelo gave birth to his son was Salvatore, and then
It's so
Salvatore
interesting.
had who did Salvatore have? Salvatore was that my grandfather's side? I think that was my grandmother's side, and then she had there's a pretty good trace of the family tree there, and then I had my Jewish side, and what happens is I guess once your DNA goes into the database though, then they can find anyone who's related to you. Like you might have people that are relatives that you don't even know about that are related to you. Once you're in that database, people can find you. So like if my father or like one of his relatives had like an illegitimate son somewhere, or I might have a cousin that I don't even know about or something like that. So it's interesting. This is different than the DNA testing that I had done to determine like my genetics in terms of how I handle different foods and detoxification and that was a different DNA test they did. This is Ancestry.com has their own DNA. But it's cool because you're kind of in the database now, so you'll find out. People might just discover you, and contact you.
Yeah, it's odd, Dave. It's funny you brought that up. We had at Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
I went to my sister's, and everyone had to say blah 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 blah. You had to say something about something what you're thankful for, and of course I went off on a tangent. I don't know how, but people were, they were people were thankful for different things, and most of it is like, they're thankful for the immediate gratification, blah, 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 blah. And, my current family, extended family, everyone was, thankful for their extended family.
Okay.
And when it came to me, I thought, we don't even know where we came from. Exactly. I'm serious. I said that my brother-in-law got a little offended, and I said, who's your grandfather? He told me. And I said, who's your great-grandfather? And I said, that's not too long ago. So who was his grandfather? He says, I don't know. And I said, isn't that bizarre?
Yeah.
Isn't that bizarre you don't know? I said, anyone at this table know? My mother's still alive. She's like 82.
Right.
I asked her who's, her memory's not the best.
Yeah, it's hard to get
But I said, like, who's your grandfather? And I said, who was his grandfather? She didn't know. Nobody,
Wow. That's why my aunt is good. She's a wealth of knowledge. Thank God she entered all this information into the database. I didn't know who all these people were. I had gone to the cemetery. I don't even remember. Last time I was in New York. And I took a picture of, there's 4 plots of my grandfather, my grandmother, my mother, and my grandmother's mother, Bessie something, Silver. Never met her. She died before I was born. And I didn't even, thank God I took that picture because there was actually a birth date on there and a death date. So I was able to enter that into the database. And I didn't even realize what my grandparents, I knew what their birthdays were, but I didn't know what their birth years were. So I had all this information. So I entered that all in. So I got the Jewish side pretty good in there. But, who knows? You and I could be related 10 generations back, Yeah. Your family's from Italy. Mine's family's from Italy. We don't know. I mean, we're all related at some point, right?
Yeah,
if we go back far enough. But it's interesting that we're piecing this together. I'm surprised it took as long as it did to do this, but I think it's because now that the computers are so astute at searching data that once people start entering all their data that they know, and you don't even need to know that much, just put in what you know. Mm-hmm. A lot of times the dots will be connected by other people who have information that they put in there. And so we're creating this humongous family tree, essentially, for all of us. And once again, if we can go back far enough, we'll find out that we're all related at some point. I'm always worried I'm going to find out that my wife is like my cousin or something like that. You always worry about that. Like, holy shit, what if I'm related to someone I'm in a relationship with?
Well, not too long ago, my grandmother's family used to just, we used to marry the cousins.
Yeah, you're right. It was not in England. They did, right? All the monarchy was like that.
Well, I mean, if you lived in a town, that's why I asked my grandmother that, and she lived in a town in Italy of like 300, and the nearest town from there was like 60 miles.
Where was that? Were they Sicilian?
No, they were Italians.
Okay, they were from the mainland.
So, I mean, she just explained to her, we're not, you marry who you know, like in the town.
Crazy.
So at some point you end up marrying a cousin.
Right. Yeah. You're right. It's so crazy interesting. Because we really don't know. We really don't know where we're from. And all the crazy genetic doohickeys that are floating around.
That was the stunning thought of the Thursday. Is just not the stunning thought. Is like, nobody could tell. Nobody knows their great. You know what I mean? Like, what's the lineage? And the concept of like importance of it. Like, it obviously wasn't that important for anyone to, record, write down, and I mean, it may be different going forward, right? Because of pictures and modern technology, your kids could say, like, who was my great grandfather? And they could say, oh, that was Dave Palumbo. Or that was Dave and Amanda.
Right.
And here's pictures of them.
No, it's true. We don't know where we're from. My father used to always say that. My father was always like searching. He's always like convinced. I told you, every time he would go to a Chinese restaurant or a Japanese restaurant, he'd be like, man, I love this food. I must have Asian blood. I'm convinced I have Asian blood in me. He used to always say that. He'd say, my uncle, his brother Vinny had like slanty eyes. Like, he's like, I always think there's some Asian DNA in us. It would be interesting to find out. My father would have loved Ancestry if he was alive and he was still with it. He would have loved if I would have done a DNA on him. Forget about it. I knew I had German blood in me. When I was in Germany, I felt like kinship with these people.
Yeah, well, he may be right. Sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny.
Then again, I felt surprisingly comfortable in China.
There you go. Maybe you got some Asian blood.
I don't know. Maybe I have to get the test done.
And my
maybe it's just I flew out there first class and I was so relaxed. I was just happy to. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, Amanda has done her DNA too, and she's like giving her. They did an update recently or something like that. And they got more accurate information because they have a better database now and searches. And she's telling her mom, she's like, "Well, you're from, your DNA shows that you have Germanic blood or something like that." And they're arguing over what Germanic means. Like, she's like, "There's no one from Germany in my background," and Amanda's trying to explain to her mom, Denise, it's not that that you guys are from Germany. It's that someone from Germany at some point probably knocked up someone in your family tree.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Denise, it's like, my father always said that the Moors, which is the black African people, conquered Sicily, and they knocked up the women there. So there's a lot of black blood in Sicilians. That's why Sicilians are so much darker than the rest of the Italians. So, I mean, to deny that, you're a moron. So I'm sure when my DNA comes back, there'll probably be I'll have some African blood in me, I wouldn't be surprised. Who knows? You don't know. We don't know where anyone came from. We only know like who our grandparents and great grandparents are if we're lucky, like you said.
Yeah, then we forget them. Not we, but the next, you know what I mean? Great grandparents. I'm like, great grandparents, who are they? I can't remember who they are. Any pictures of them? No.
Well, the good thing now is that we have so much documentation that for generations, down the road, they'll be able to trace their lineage forever because, at least back to us and a little beyond, because there's video and there's pictures and there's Ancestry.com now that you can see records and stuff like that, and everything's computerized. So as long as the world doesn't blow up or something like that, and we lose all the digital documentation, future generations are going to know everything about their past, basically. Think about it in 100, 200 years from now. Our great-great-great-grandkids are going to know who we were, probably. Yeah. They might even listen to a clip of me doing a Nasser impression, Yeah. Oh, that was my great-great-grandfather. He did that primitive form of communication called radio. Can you believe it?
There's families so wealthy who've inherited money over and over, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got it from your father, who got it from his father, who got it from his father, who's got it from his father. That they don't know what the original business was that gave it to them.
Exactly.
I know this for a fact because I know some guy who inherited a fortune. He did. He inherited a fortune.
Okay.
So, not coincidentally, he just hang out with Lotto. His circle was wealthy people, right? Just makes sense.
Right. Probably went to
Kind of,
prep schools and
Yeah, they
all
did. That's
that
right.
stuff.
So he was proud to know where the money came from that he would save for free.
Right.
He said, I know where I got my free money from, Chris. He said, but I run with people. He said, they don't even know where they got the money from. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, the guys my age, like this guy would have been 70 by now, 75. He got it from his father, who got it from his father, who got it from his father. And they know it came from his father, but they don't know where they got it from.
They probably were bootleggers.
Yeah, well, that was when they didn't know. They would go back to, he would. It's funny that you said that. He said maybe he got it from alcohol.
Yeah. I think the Kennedys made all their money with illegal alcohol. Back in Prohibition, right? Joe Kennedy. Crazy. But who knows? I always wondered why wealthy people send their kids away to prep schools.
Get them out of their hair.
Isn't that weird? You got all this money in the world and you send your kid away. Now, it's under the guise of, it's a better education.
With other wealthy kids.
Yeah, but I think kids are emotionally, at that point, they're not ready to, leave home. Maybe, obviously, I think when kids are, 18, get them the fuck out of the house, send them on their own. Make them make their own way. But I don't know. It's tough. I was a very.
That's because you have 3 little kids and you can't ever imagine sending them out
I
of
was
the house.
emotionally I was very emotionally retarded. I don't think I would have done well if they would have sent me away at 13 or 14.
Well, you probably would have done good at a military academy where
it would have been terrible. I would have been crying all the time. I mean, it would have made me very harsh, and very hard, and I'm sure it would have hardened me up. But I don't know. I think it changes the psyche of the kid.
Everything changes the psyche of a kid, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess if your kid is into no good stuff and he's into drugs, I understand when people send kids away to military school for that because they could die.
Now you send them away and it's probably just all other kids who are into drugs away. All their parents sent them away because they were into drugs.
Right, but you know what? That's the military schools. There's no drugs in. But I know what you're saying. The prep schools, they do more drugs there than they probably would have done at home.
Yeah, because they have easy access to money.
Exactly.
And their parents aren't around.
Right, and the parents feel guilty that they sent them away, so they're sending tons of money.
More money? Yeah. Sending them more money.
Right, it's like a perfect storm. Hey, we need money, Dad. We got to do a couple 8-balls this weekend. You going to the baseball park? Oh, no problem. Yeah, we'll put $1,000 into your account.
Well, that's what my another friend that I have, who who was a big Wall Street famous guy, and he once told me his firm paid him so much money. The money was meant not because he was worth it, but to make him feel comfortable that he was away from his family all the time.
Wow.
When he figured that out, he almost went nuts.
Yeah.
He said even my wife would buy into it. I'd give her $3,000 to go on a shopping trip for the mall for the day, and she'd feel better about it. I mean, it's all bizarre.
Yeah, it is bizarre. I wanted to bring up also Matt Schmidt, who won the NPC Nationals overall, who we talked about last week.
Yep.
I interviewed him this week, and I also interviewed your client, by the way, who won the Super.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did. I don't know if I don't think I put his Jonas. I don't think I put
Jonas Gietris. I think.
Yeah, I didn't put his interview up yet. It'll go up this week. A good interview with him too. Nice guy. But Matt Schmidt, and it's funny because I had to go back. I when I saw Matt's picture up after when he won, and I saw the name, I'm like, I know this guy somehow, and I would have blocked it out, but I had helped him, back 5-6 years ago when he was first getting into it, and in 18 he had been texting me pictures of himself, and then he disappeared. He never competed in 18, and I'm like, what the hell happened to this guy?
That's why medical happened, right?
Well, yeah, he had, and if people have watched the interview know what I'm talking about, but if you haven't, what a story. First of all, he was diagnosed with like ulcerative colitis back when he was like in his 20s, and they had to remove his colon. He had his whole colon removed. He had the bag and everything for a while, until they reconnected him back up.
That's what Francois had. But
right, but he continued it. He's like, well, I'm not quitting. Mike said, well, I'm out. I'm done. This guy was like, oh, I'm not quitting. I'm young. I'm just getting started. So he overcomes that, comes back from that, starts bodybuilding with no colon. He just has a small intestine that goes, so obviously it makes it a lot harder to concentrate the colon extracts the liquid portion of the waste. So when you don't have the liquid portion extracted, you poop diarrhea all the time, basically. So he deals with this, and the guy is poised to win the Nationals, or at least do very well at 18. He's looking the best he's ever looked.
At how old?
No,
in 18. Oh yeah, no, I heard
in 2018. He's in his like early 30s at this point.
I heard he looked phenomenal. Somebody told me that.
2 weeks before the show, he has an obstruction in his small intestine from eating too much broccoli or something like that. So he goes to the hospital, and they put in a tube down his nose, and they try to liquefy it and suck it out that way, which is while he's awake, by the way. Mm-hmm. Brutal. So he gets out of the hospital after 2 days. He's like, all right, you know what, I can come back from this. But then he doesn't feel good, and he just knows his body. And so he goes back to the emergency room, and it turns out they got to do surgery. He's got a blockage. They got to cut out a piece of his small intestine. So now he's thinking, I'm going to wake up with another bag on me, right? And they're like, we don't know if we can reconnect you. Luckily, they were able to reconnect him after that surgery. But of course, he's out of commission at this point. They removed this section of his small intestine. They told him, yeah, you're never going to bodybuild again. But then, the whole thing. He's like, fuck, I'm coming back. I'm going to be back. And sure enough, 1 year later, the guy's back and wins the Nationals. I mean, it's almost unbelievable. When you have a desire and focus to do something, this guy he's a maniac, by his own self-admission. I mean, he's very focused on everything he does. He works like 80 hours, 90 hours a week sometimes, overtimes and stuff like that, as a police officer to just because he wants to pay his house off. He's just a really motivated guy, which is probably what caused this problem to begin with, right? Just too motivated. But I mean, what a story, right? I said, I got to be honest with you. I didn't even notice any scars on stage. He's like, when I put the Protan on, for some reason, it hides the scar. Because he showed me pictures on his Instagram of, like, before he had the Protan on. You can see he's got a definite scar down the middle of his, like, rectus, that linea alba down there. But when he put Protan on, it disappeared. It was like a miracle. He's a miracle, really, when you think about it. The fact that he could look as good as he did.
Well, what I say, it's all mental.
Yeah, that's going back, once again, this whole show. I was setting this whole show up just for that. This guy has such a vision of what he wanted to achieve that nothing can get in his way. Colitis, small intestine, every little obstacle that was being thrown his way, he just said, it's not going to allow me to deviate from what my final goal is, which is to, to turn pro and to be a professional bodybuilder. It's amazing. I mean, it just goes to show you the will and dedication to what you're doing. Imagine this. Put this guy's mindset in Chris Cormier. How good could Chris Cormier have been with this guy's mindset? Forget about it.
Well, yeah, gone all the way.
Yeah, it's just.
I mean, I'm not saying. You know what? Let's just. Not to. I think Chris Cormier had 100% the right mindset. I just think that recreational drugs, put a curveball into that whole,
sidetrack.
That plan.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
the good thing about that, and you make a good point, is that now he's laser focused on being a great coach and trainer. And I think that now with a much more mature mindset, he will be much more successful. And I told him this in the interview. You'll be more successful as a trainer and coach or whatever you're applying yourself to now than you ever were as a bodybuilder, because you have a more mature outlook on what you want to do and accomplish. And you know that the drugs that you were doing were something that wasn't something that you should have been doing. Not to the extreme at least that you were doing it. And he's like, I never thought about that. He goes, I think you're probably right. I said, of course I'm right. I said, because he knows bodybuilding. He loves this. There's no one who loves bodybuilding more than he does. I mean, he realized, I was sabotaging myself. I didn't even realize it. He was surrounded by people that were all telling him they loved him and everything like that. And a lot of those guys, a lot of those guys were really legitimately like Chris, but they also liked to go out and party with him because he was so much fun. They just like to party.
I just told someone this today about ass kissers. I said that, anyways, I wonder if he's listened to the show. I don't want to say his name because then it'll embarrass him, but we were talking about people being around you who just around you because you're, quote, a big shot.
Yeah.
I said, something goes wrong, they're not around. That's for damn sure.
Now, we've been talking about the bodybuilding lifestyle, but not really about bodybuilding. I want to ask you a question because I don't even know if you know. Are we at a point where we can say definitively that Shawn Rhoden will not be in the Arnold Classic?
I haven't talked to Shawn, but you probably been talking to everyone else, so you would know.
It seems as though we're not going to see him in that Arnold Classic.
Why don't you call the Arnold Classic people?
I should.
If Matt, you always say Matt so-and-so is a great friend, and so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so, and call them up and say, hey, this is Dave Palumbo. I'm a news reporter. How come you called up Shawn Rhoden and asked him to get his permission to put him on your poster, then you put the poster everywhere, then you took it down. End of story.
Right. Well, I would think that you'd be...
I know, but I would think that they would know better than me because it's their show.
Well, how many weeks out are we now? We're in December 2nd here. So we get December, January, February. So, theoretically, you would be prepping him for the show at this point.
Well, I prepped him for fucking 8 weeks for Olympia.
No, I know he did, even though he wasn't doing it. But is he in prep mode now?
No, he's not. He's not in prep mode right now.
Okay. So
but my point is, he's prepped for 8 weeks, so that doesn't matter if the people who put him on the poster, who took him off the poster, who said he's doing it, is not doing it, could just make up their mind and say definitively, which is their responsibility.
Right.
It's kind of misleading, isn't it, to put him on a poster? I hate making this about Shawn. You should make it about
the poster got pulled down, so we don't see the poster anymore.
Why.
I will.
And we're asking why they were dumb enough to put it up.
I don't know. I'm waiting to see.
Ask. You don't know. I'll ask the questions.
I'd like to see Rhoden make a statement about this whole thing. At this point,
I would like to have the people who put him on the poster make a statement about the whole thing.
Well, they could say that maybe. Nice? You think they would say that Shawn pulled out?
I think they would say what they are responsible to say.
Yeah.
I think they would say, or should say, the truth. And the question is,
I'll get a statement.
Why did you put Shawn Rhoden on the poster with Big Ramy? Period.
Right.
So the answer you can come up with conjecture could be Shawn begged to be on it. Shawn begged us to be in the show. Or the other answer would be because we invited him and we were putting him in the show.
Well, the statement would be we wanted him in the show. Now the question is, can Shawn do the show? Now I don't know.
Well, that's a question for them also.
Yeah. Yeah. Evidently, unlike the Olympia promoters, it seems as though the Arnold promoters wanted, which is Lorma and Arnold, wanted Shawn Rhoden in the show. Who doesn't want him in the show? Or is Shawn having second thoughts about the show? I don't know.
Well, let's get real. Do you think that... I don't even know. Do you think that Shawn Rhoden has second thoughts about doing the show?
I don't know when his trial is coming up. When is his trial coming up?
Well, let me ask you again, without you even knowing the trial, seeing that he wanted to do the Olympia.
Well, yeah, but the Olympia is a lot further away. If the trial is like...
The last Olympia, he wanted to do that too. Right?
No, well, yeah, but that was...
His
trial
don't put out phony ideas about him having second thoughts.
All right, you're completely definitively saying there is no second thoughts.
Unequivocally, no.
Okay, good.
Put it this way: if Shawn Rhoden is doing that show, you will see him with the first place in his hand.
I believe that.
So it goes back to, instead of asking rhetorical questions about Shawn, ask real questions to the promoters.
All right, I'm going to. I'm going to put it out there.
Because it's not fair to Shawn to ask him those type of rhetorical questions when we know the answer. The answer lies with the promoter.
Or the organization.
Well, it could be the organization.
Well, if they don't want to allow Shawn to have a pro card because of what's going on, then
sounds like you know more than you. It sounds like you know more than you.
I don't. You know what? I don't know more because you're right. I need to talk to the promoter. Would be the person who would tell me, because they would either say, "Yeah, we want him in the show," but they won't. You know, the IFBB won't give him a pro status in 2020 until his case is settled, or they'll say, we changed our mind and we don't want him in the show. But I don't think they're going to say that, because I think that they do want him in the show, because they would not have made a poster with him on it if they didn't want him in the show, right?
That would seem logical.
Yeah. So I have to believe that the IFBB might be a little reticent, seeing that the case is probably coming up, and I would have to imagine his trial is probably going to be taking place sometime in that first or second quarter of 2020, right? Would you assume that's correct?
I wouldn't assume anything, because I've never talked to Shawn about the...
I can't believe that Shawn wouldn't say to you, "Hey, Chris, I'm going to probably be going to trial in April, May, or whatever the case may be."
You're wrong.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me going against a case, Dave, because you
no, there's no timeline.
No, because you know, when I told you who the girl was, you went on for like days about it not being the girl.
Right.
Right? And I said, no, you're wrong. And then I found out when I was at the Nationals, you know, aside from Robin Banks, she don't have really the greatest reputation amongst men.
Who? You just said Robin Banks? What's that?
No, I said...
Oh, robbing banks. Oh.
Besides robbing banks,
yeah.
The bank robber does not have the greatest reputation amongst men.
Right. Well, that's why it's important that he go to trial and all this stuff will come out. That's why I said I don't know if he did it or not. Who knows?
And that came from, I can tell you off the show.
Okay.
Who that came from, that she does not have the best reputation amongst men.
I know who you're going to tell me. I know who said
it.
No,
you don't.
Yeah,
you don't.
I'll tell you why I think I know. Because I think well, I'm not going to. If I say that, people will know who it is.
Yeah, people will know. But the reason I say
the person's a client of yours, though. That's for sure.
Somebody came up to me in Miami, and it's a person who I wouldn't expect any commentary about anything on any subject.
Mm-hmm. And they told you that.
Yeah.
That's why I think that everyone deserves their day in court, and the evidence from both sides will be revealed, and then we'll find out, who did it or didn't do it. But I have to imagine, Chris, that the trial is going to be taking place in the next several months.
During the prejudging of the Arnold.
Yeah, it might be the same weekend for all we know. Maybe that's why he's not doing it. Look, if it was me and I knew that I didn't do anything wrong, or that I'm being kind of framed in a sense, and my reputation is being tarnished, I would want this freaking trial as quick as possible to get this thing over with already. But I know that these lawyers take forever because they got to go through the evidence and they got to call witnesses and they got to set up everything. But man, I'd be going nuts if I don't know. Shawn is just he's amazing the way he handles stress. I don't know. I wouldn't be handling it as well as him. That's for sure. I don't think I would have been able to focus on the show. I would have been like, I gotta be vindicated first, and then I'll worry about bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. It's tough. It's very tough to live with that, knowing that people are forming an opinion of him based on something that might be a lie, for all we know. But I thought I wanted to mention it just because, like I said, and you're not his keeper.
People base an opinion on you no matter with the littlest amount of information.
Of course.
So
look at Tyson. If anything, and I hate to say this, he probably was pretty innocent in what happened when they framed him for rape. This girl went up to his hotel room, and Mike didn't have the greatest reputation to begin with. He was a violent guy. He had no respect for women.
Yeah, Desiree Washington went up to his hotel room at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And she thought they were going to play cribbage.
Cribbage. If that had been any other person, he wouldn't have gone to jail. It was like the worst person you could possibly have in that hotel room was Mike Tyson, right?
Yeah, in that day, yeah.
Anyone else would have been better. Anyone else. If Tiger Woods was in that hotel room, he wasn't going to jail for that. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, how about if she was going up to see at 3 in the morning in that day, like Bon Jovi?
Right. Exactly.
She would have played the cribbage game and then have...
Well, Bon Jovi would have said, "Get the fuck out of my room," after they had sex. That's all. Bon Jovi would have been like, "Yeah, hang out. Don't worry about it, man.
Yeah.
You can spend the night." But Tyson was like, "Man, I got to train tomorrow. Get the fuck out of here." That was his biggest mistake, right? Just being an arrogant fucking guy,
Well, he was young, and that was the modus operandi for the, he thought she knew what she was getting, and
right. So, but it's crazy how things can change your life like that. It's
your life can
scary.
Change on a less than a dime. That's when Branch Warren slipped on a piece of ice, he was lucky that his leg came back, right?
You're telling me.
You remember when he slipped?
But I'm saying you talk about a guy who's got laser focus. That was and I've said this before, the greatest injury comeback of all time in bodybuilding. There's no one can say that they've done better than that, because it wasn't that he overcame such a horrendous injury, but that he did it in such a short period of time. And I can say this because I had a quad tear, and I still have a quad tear, and I know it's the most brutal recovery process, like rehab, of any other injury, because not only does the thing have to heal, but you have to get back your range of motion, which is zero. In other words, when you come out of that cast, or whatever the immobilizer, you have zero range of motion. You can't bend your leg. It's like stuck. It's stiff. And to get that range of motion back, number one, it's ridiculously painful, the stretching. And number two, you can't train, like a normal. You got to get the range of motion back before you can train. The fact that Branch got the range of motion back and trained and got his leg back to normal size, or at least close to it,
fast, in
less than 6 months is unbelievable. That's mindset. That's fuck this. This ain't beating me. I'm gonna beat it. And then he won the Arnold Classic. It wasn't like he came back and did okay. He came back and won the Arnold Classic.
No, you're right. It's
Unbelievable.
No, but the point is he could have slipped and cracked his head open.
You're right. Died. You don't know.
I told you, it goes back to the cancer guy who said I was being arrogant.
Yeah.
I wasn't being arrogant. My cancer doctor told me one of his greatest success stories ever. Like, just for sure the cancer doctor thought this. There is no way this guy is going to make it. By a miracle, he made it. And then his car in Maine hydroplaned off the highway, and he crashed his vehicle and died.
Really died? Oh my God.
Yeah, he died.
Wow.
So, but the doctor's point was, it had to tie into this: when your time is up, or
sure.
You don't know your exit. You think he thought, okay, this guy's he's a patient of mine. He's absolutely going to die of cancer. And he was stunned when it went into full remission. And then to find out, a year later, after a checkup with him, he was driving home and his car hydroplaned off the highway and died. Nuts, right?
Yeah. Yep.
The randomness of it all. And Dave Palumbo doesn't know do you know who your great-great-grandfather is?
I do. Never met him, but I did.
Great grandfather. What was your great grandfather's sister's name?
I don't know. Probably. I got to look at the family tree. Might be in there. I'll leave us with a quote from Jim Valvano. You remember Jim Valvano?
Oh, he also died of cancer.
Yeah. Remember he gave that great speech? He had some award show.
Yeah.
He said,
My brother went to the same. He was the athletic director when my brother was captain of the swim team at North Carolina State.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
He said, if you laugh, you think, and you cry, that's a full day. That's a heck of a day. You do that 7 days a week, you're going to have something very special. Right?
Yeah.
It's a full life. That's it.
Yeah.
Laugh, think, and cry every day.
You know what that means? You got your emotional needs met to some degree. I wouldn't say to a full degree, but
Yep.
you laugh, think, and cry.
On that note, until next week, remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
The truth hurts.
good night, everyone.